Well, it is not uncommon for workers to seek compensation for injuries suffered on the job through their employer's workers' compensation insurance. But in some cases, additional compensation may be secured through a third-party personal injury claim. Here to help us understand all of this, if this sounds like gibberish to you, we are sorting it out with Richard Elrod, a partner at Herrling Law Firm and personal injury attorney. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Let's start with a basic definition. What exactly is a third-party injury compensation claim?
That's the great question. Normally, if you're hurt while you're working, you're in the course and scope of your employment, you're limited to workers' compensation benefits. And those are just a handful of things. It's your medical bills, part of your wage loss, and if you end up with a permanent disability where you have some long-term injury, there's some small benefits typically for that, but that's usually it. But there are some exceptions to that rule, and those exceptions are what we call the third-party claims. Okay. So in these third-party claims, it's generally a matter of there's somebody else responsible for your injury other than you, your employer, or a coworker. So we see these more often than not when perhaps there's been a car accident. So you're driving for work purposes and you're in a car accident. And so in addition to your work comp claim, because you were working at the time, you've also got a claim for having been in that car crash, right?
Right.
We also see it where there's a defective piece of equipment or machinery at work. So that failed and that caused an injury, or on occasion where you have a situation where you're working with employees from another company and one of them might cause the injury. So there are some exceptions to the general rules about work comp that we call third-party claims.
So how are these different then from workers' compensation claims? How do we know if we need to wrap you guys in?
Yeah, absolutely. The workers' compensation claims are kind of a trade-off, right? You don't have to sue your employer. You don't have to prove it's somebody else's fault to make that claim, but you get lesser benefits as a result. So that's the trade-off. When you have a third-party claim in addition to that, you're entitled to make claim not only for your medical bills, but all of your wage loss, any permanent disability. But the big kicker is that there's a pain and suffering claim, right? So if you get hurt at work, you hate to say it, but there's really nothing to make up for how miserable you might be or how it affects your life or what you go through physically, mentally, emotionally during that time frame. But the third-party claim allows compensation for that, which is often the largest part of an injury claim.
Sure. Are these common claims for insured workers to pursue?
They don't happen as often, clearly, as just getting hurt in the normal course of your employment, but they do happen pretty regularly, and they're more complicated, right? So in a normal work comp claim, you might not need an attorney, right? Unless something's contested or there's an issue there. But in these third-party claims, as a general rule, you're going to need some help with those.
How can we figure out if we just go through our employer or if we need to call someone like Herrling Clark?
Yeah, if you've got a situation where you believe it's somebody else's fault that you were injured and it wasn't, a co-employee or your employer, again, that car accident scenario, you're going to want to talk to a lawyer and look into what your benefits might be and what your rights are.
All right. Well, you will find Herrling Clark offices close to you in Appleton, Green Bay, Oshkosh, and Wapaka. You can reach them at 920-739-7366 or find them online, herlingclark.com. Thank you.
Thank you.